Hey, what is up guys? I'm KBHD here, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. It came out a couple weeks ago, but this is everything you need to know about the phone that I've used as my daily driver since it dropped. So new points for the Galaxy Note 7 are the design refresh, some camera improvements, a bunch of new software features, and explosions. Let's cover all of that. So the new design is something of a mix between the Galaxy S7 Edge and the Note 5. So plenty of glass on the front and the back, symmetrical on the sides from front to back, and curved enough on both edges that it has what's called a dual edge display. So the glass just kind of sort of melts over onto the sides of the phone to the metal rails. And it's built extremely well. Honestly, between this and the Galaxy S7 Edge, Samsung seems to be on top of the build quality game as far as smartphones go right now. It turns out to not be that slippery thanks to the metal rails on the side where your fingers rest. You can still drop a dbrand skin on the back to show less fingerprints or add a bit more grip on the back. I'll leave a link to them below. But yeah, I'm overall pretty happy with the build and the finish on the Note 7. And the all black is definitely my favorite look. There is a new blue coral color, and it kind of looks pretty neat too. A lot of people like it, but I'm a fan of the all black look on pretty much any smartphone. So the only problem I found with the dual edge display is actually sometimes when I'm holding it, I don't realize that like part of my hand is actually still touching the display. So it seems like it's unresponsive at first, but it's just because I'm holding it wrong. So that's my bad, but it's just in the way you hold it. As far as what's inside the Note 7, it's pretty much using the highest end parts available. So Snapdragon 820, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and up front, still an incredible Quad HD Super AMOLED display. And let me just say, this is still what Samsung is doing best in the business right now. Other phones are getting better technology in their displays, and there are some other great looking smartphone displays right now, but none of them match this, in my opinion. The vividness, in the brightness, in the sharpness and color, it just looks great. It's one of those phones where I would never have to worry about being able to see it, even outdoors, even when it's like sunny, in the car, in a bright area. When brightness goes all the way up on auto brightness in a well-lit area, it really pushes the brightness. So I can always see the screen, even when I'm navigating or something like that. It's awesome. So this is hands down the best display in a smartphone. And another thing that's best in class on the Note 7 is the camera. So it's brought up from the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge. It's actually the exact same camera from those phones. So the 12 megapixel sensor and f1.7 aperture with optical image stabilization, all of that's come up. And when it first came out, I would say it's absolutely the best camera in any smartphone. Now, iPhone 7's come out since then, and it gets pretty close. It has some other novel features that make it unique, but still, as an all-around camera, this is a huge selling point. I have a ton more photos from this camera since I've gotten it, and it's kind of because it's one of those cameras that encourages me to take a lot of photos. Autofocus and actually opening the camera app and snapping a photo are super quick, so it just feels easy to take lots of photos and take lots of great photos. And this is basically a continuation from how good it was in the Galaxy S7, as you can see. Great colors, great dynamic range for a smartphone camera, and excellent sharpness and detail, not too overdone or overprocessed like Samsung cameras used to be. And just a bigger phone overall actually kind of makes it a bigger handle to take a photo or video with. So who knows, that might even help with stabilization. So the photos and 4K videos you get out of this phone without even any editing or touch-ups, which you can do in a RAW mode, continue to be really impressive. Now, a big part of what's made the Note series, especially from the beginning when it first came out, a very popular phone with power users like me, is not only the fact that it was always like a really big phone, but it's just always had like all of the latest, all of the best features that Samsung's had to offer. It's packed to the gills with features. It's got the S Pen stylus. It's got multitasking with multiple apps available at the same time. It's basically doing everything it can to take advantage of the high-end hardware that you get. So this phone is full of the best that Samsung makes. And to be fair, Samsung's done a really good job of keeping a lot of the great features in the phone without making the software feel like overwhelming. There used to be just stuff everywhere, but it's pretty tame now. It's actually a little bit more organized, so things are a little bit easier to find. There's a search function in the settings app. So yeah, a lot of neat features are tucked in there, and they're not all screaming in your face. They're just kind of waiting around the corner. So one of the newest, flashiest ones is the iris scanner. It's a new method for unlocking your phone that takes advantage of the new sensor in the top of the phone, along with an infrared light blaster that you can actually see in action when it's scanning. And all it wants you to do is basically hold the phone up to your face for a second while it reads your eyes to identify you and then logs you in. It kind of seems like straight out of the future when it actually works well. As far as I know, it can't be fooled with photos of you or other people's eyes. I didn't think it's quite as secure as other security methods, but despite me wearing contacts, which it says can impede it, it works really well. In fact, it actually seemed to learn my eyes over time. So a week after setting this up, iris scanning was really fast. I still prefer a fingerprint reader though. Of course, there are other things like the S Pen features that evolve from year to year with the Note. I may not use this thing much, but when I do, it's kind of nice. So the pen itself is now much more sensitive to different levels of pressure. The tip is smaller, so it feels like writing with an actual pen instead of like a marker. And it's now designed so you definitely can't stick it in backwards and break it. Oh yeah, and it's still clicky, in case you were wondering. My favorite new S Pen feature is the ability to screen capture instantly and then convert it into a GIF that you can share. Super useful and actually really fun. Plus, you still have all the capture and drawing tools from before. So, even with all these added features, overall performance on the Note 7 is pretty much always on point, as you would expect from high-end specs like this. I say pretty much though because every once in a while, like I would wake it up and try to start using it and it would just lag a lot for no reason for a couple seconds before it would snap out of it. I don't really know why it still does this. Like it's gotten a few software updates to possibly fix it, but it still does this sometimes, so I gotta mention it. But anyway, when it's not doing that, it's handling everyday use like a beast. It's super smooth and snappy. Multiple apps open at the same time, swapping between them, browsing a lot, gaming a lot, all that stuff, no problem. The one thing a lot of heavy use will hit though is definitely your battery life. This actually has a smaller battery than the Galaxy S7 Edge, even though it's a bigger phone because it has that slot in the side for the stylus. So smaller battery and bigger screen on the front. So the battery life on the Note 7 is really just about average. It used to be that phone that everyone took to CES and everyone took to shows and long road trips because it was that phone that had a massive battery and it was removable. Both of those things are no longer the case. I can definitely still get my 3 hours of screen on time with my heavy, high brightness, above average use, but I definitely have to charge it every night. I never really end a day with like 30% left or anything. I'm pretty much always looking for a charger by the end of the day. Anyway, there are a bunch of other little things that make the Note 7 a great phone still for a power user. It has fast charging, which I think is kind of underrated. The best fast charging phones are like lifesavers to me. It has wireless charging still. It has USB Type-C, which I like, and a headphone jack, of course. And there's expandable storage as well via microSD. And the whole phone is also now water resistant. It's IP67 certified. So this is the first year that the Galaxy Note gets this extra durability, and that's really awesome to see. I feel like people don't really appreciate how difficult it is to water seal a phone from the inside without affecting the outside. Like we've seen water resistant phones before, that's not new, but they all look like water resistant phones, whether they have like a flap or something weird that just doesn't look that good. This pretty much has the same exact design as you would expect, so that's a nice bonus. The only part that I would say actually does suffer from the waterproofing is the speaker, that speaker on the bottom. It's pretty weak and it's small and easy to block and it's not super loud. I mean, pretty much all waterproof or water resistant phones have some fault or difficulty with the speaker. That's just a hard thing to do. But I think Samsung doesn't really have a big problem with this because previous Samsung phones have had pretty lousy speakers anyway. So it gets moderately loud, but it's pretty tinny and distorted when it gets that loud. So yeah, that's probably the worst part of the phone right there. Now, of course, we got to address the elephant in the room. You've probably been thinking about it this whole review, and that would be explosions. No matter how good a phone is, if 100 of them explode within a month of it being out, that's pretty bad. You kind of messed up. So the Note 7 has a bit of reputation now. I get it. It's really easy to make jokes about. But the main issue was with the battery overheating while charging, especially in like hot environments like a car outside or while using third-party chargers while the batteries would actually swell up to the point where some of them would literally explode. So what Samsung did was offer a full voluntary recall, which was kind of rocky. You probably know about the way carriers work in the United States, but they kind of did what they can. But now, so when they're selling Note 7s, you know you have one of the batch that isn't at risk of exploding if it has a little green battery indicator on the front. That is one of the new batch. So if you're on like a flight or something and the flight attendant says, hey, is that a Note 7? You got to power that down for the flight. At least you can point and be like, hey, this is one of the new ones, so it actually won't explode. Mine never exploded, but that doesn't mean it would never have done anything weird, so I did return it. If you have an old one, you should too. Get a new one. I did, and now we're all good. So, assuming we're talking about the new Note 7s, the ones that are now being sold with the green battery indicator, this is the best phone that Samsung makes right now. For sure, right alongside the Galaxy S7 Edge, which I think it can be a toss-up for which phone is better for certain people. This phone is a little bit bigger, has a little bit of a bigger display, but it's just chock full of features. It is stuffed to the gills, and it is still a power user's phone. It's also pricey, but I would say it's also worth the price to have the best camera in any smartphone, the best display in any smartphone, and one of the best experiences that Samsung has ever put together in the Android world. Overall, could recommend this phone. Again, get the new one, get the green battery, and you're set. Either way, that's been it. Thank you for watching this Galaxy Note 7 review. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them below, right below that like button. And of course, thank you for subscribing for those of you who are to see the next videos that are coming up. Again, thanks for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.